Hi there, Danish learner. Welcome back to my channel, Danish Matters. I'm Tina Baga, your Danish friend and tutor. Today, we're going to talk about something serious. It is funeral, begravelse in Danish. It's not going to be about arranging one. So if you need to do that, then I encourage you to search online. I might also search a little bit myself and put a link to something in the comments, but search yourself as well in order to be able to arrange a funeral on your own. So today is going to be about when you attend a funeral. Yeah. Before we get started, I would like to remind you that if you would like a Danish course with me, I am also a Danish teacher, and then you can write to tina@danishmatters.dk. So a funeral in Denmark is normally in a church. And normally you would gather there with friends and family, and on the flagpole of the church, our flag, Dannebro, will be only hoisted halfway up to indicate mourning. And normally you would be expected to wear black. That is why I'm wearing black today. This is actually what I wore at my mother-in-law's funeral a few years ago. I was also wearing a jacket, a black jacket, and this is just a piece of jewelry and necklace that she gave me, together with a ring that I was also wearing. Of course, you don't need to do that. It was just me who wanted to sort of connect with her in that way. It might sound silly or superstitious or just romantic to you. That is fine with me, but that is what I did because I had the emotions for that. I wanted to do that. You can do anything that you like in that sense. Some people don't wear black. It is considered normal too to also just wear dark clothing. Normally men would be wearing a suit, and women might be wearing pants or a skirt. I wore a skirt, but you can do anything. Normally it would be something maybe a little long. I mean, it's not supposed to be attracting any attention at all. It's not supposed to be flirtatious in any way. So dressing like formally is what is expected, but some people just wear a dark sweater or a dark shirt. I don't think you can, offend anyone by wearing something just normal, but we would consider it a little off if you have like holes in your pants, or if you attend wearing all white or a very flowery something. Maybe that would be a little off. I have heard about, though, people attending a funeral and the deceased person wanted people to wear elves' hats. The ones for Nissa elves during Christmas, because that person loved Christmas so much, and that was what that person had wished for. So everyone was wearing that, or most of the people attending were wearing that. So that might also be some wish from the deceased person. But normally just wear something in dark colors and a sort of rather formal attire. Inside the church, if you are not close to their deceased person, you'll be expected to sit a little further back in the church, on either side, I assume. You'll be seeing that there will be a coffin close to the altar, and on that might be some flowers, and also down the aisle there will also be flowers. If you are close to the deceased person, you can send, that is, you can order, I don't know what that is called, but a circle of flowers for in honor of their deceased person. And that can be a ribbon with some words on. That could be tak for alt, thank you for everything, or any other type of very short sort of farewell, goodbye to the deceased person. And you can send that to the church when you are informed where the funeral will be at. So if you're not close, normally you could bring a red rose just a single red rose, and I'll get back to that. Inside the church, the priest will be speaking about the deceased, and normally the closest family have been talking to the priest about the life of the deceased person and the personality of the deceased person, and the priest will be saying all of that to the assembled people. There will be some hymns that you will have to sing. You don't have to sing if you don't like singing, but at least sit still while others are singing and the organ is playing in the church. Yeah, after that, the coffin will either be carried by people of the family or friend group, or it will be sort of dragged by a church servant, a staff of the church, on a little cart out to, if it's a grave burial, then you will go to the grave and the coffin will be hoisted down in ropes by either, well, the closest family normally, might be a close friend. If there are not enough people, then there will also be a church servant helping with that. And the priest will be speaking very shortly. And the priest will be saying words sort of like this. Jord du kommet? Undskyld. Jord du kommet? Til jord skal du blive. Af jorden skal du igen opstå. So it's sort of like dust to dust, ashes to ashes, I think they say in English. But it means that you have come from the ground, you have come from the dirt or the earth, and you are going to become dirt and earth again. And from the earth, you will then also again rise. That's what it means. There might be some others who say a few words there as well that differs. And then there is a special hymn that most people choose to sing alongside of the grave, and that is Altid frejdig når du går. And I'll link to that in the comments. It is actually meant for soldiers, and I have been at one funeral where the closest family actually chose not to sing that one. I think they chose another one, I forget which, because there's a line in that song or that hymn where it goes something like dø om så det gælder, so die if it really counts or if you really have to. But that is meant for soldiers, and the closest family didn't feel like that was actually appropriate for the deceased person, so they chose another hymn to sing. So there's a lot of variation, but there's also a lot of tradition. So traditionally, that's what I'm talking about. But of course, people can choose different things. They can talk to the priest and have things arranged differently. If it's a grave burial, then that will be what will be going on. If it's not a grave burial, then the coffin will be carried out or rolled on the little cart to the hearse, that is the car that it would be waiting for the coffin, and that would be placed in that hearse, and people will leave their flowers on the coffin. And I forgot to say, by the grave, if it's a grave burial, people will do that as well. They will put down their roses or their flowers. Maybe there is a favorite flower from the deceased person, or maybe you just bring a red rose and you put that down on the coffin in the grave. And that's the same thing that you do on the coffin when it's placed inside the hearse, so the car that is waiting. And people around the car, around the hearse, would also be singing that same song, and then they will stand a little and just commemorate their deceased person, and then the driver of the hearse will go out and close the hearse and will drive off. And that is normally if the deceased person has chosen to be burned and put in an urn later on. If the person is going to be burned in an urn, then the closest family will probably meet later on when that is all done and place the urn in a little grave alone. That is often what will happen, at least to my knowledge. That might be something that you will need to look into if that is the case. If you are not going to a funeral in the church itself, you might go to a funeral in a chapel, and there will be, as I recall, I've been to one of those. That was actually my own grandfather. There is no singing because there is no organ. That is normally for people who find themselves not religious, and the service will just be in there instead. No songs. There might be someone saying something, and the priest might also say something, and then afterward, then it will also be, I think the coffin actually with my grandfather stayed in there, and he wanted to be buried at a graveyard or a cemetery where you don't have any stones or anything. So I don't know where he's buried because I can't go to his place. That is also something that people need to make up with themselves. If they want a grave, or if they want to be in a coffin or an urn, or if they want to be distributed with their ashes somewhere. That's also what people can do in Denmark. It depends, so you need to speak with the closest family in order to find out the wishes of the deceased person. In both cases, or in all the cases, either church or a chapel, either a grave burial, or if the person wanted to be in an urn, their closest family and friends, maybe even colleagues, will gather at another place. Normally that would be at a restaurant somewhere in a closed environment that is in a room to themselves, where they will have a meal, or they will just have coffee and some bread and biscuits or cookies, and they will talk about the deceased, maybe share some nice or maybe even funny stories, but it will be heartfelt and of course also sad, but just to share your experiences with this deceased person, talk about the deceased person. Some days after, you will receive a thank you card if you have ordered one of those big floral arrangements for the church. And that is also, if you arrange a funeral, you are expected to write thank you cards for that. The church servant will give you little envelopes with the greetings from the different floral arrangements to you after the service, so that you can collect those and you can find their addresses and you can send them by real mail and thank them for their attendance. I think I have covered most of what I wanted to say. I got a little touched myself because funerals are of course sad and not nice, regardless of their deceased being old or not. Yeah, I think I covered the most. Yeah, I hope you got something out of this video. I hope it helped you. And if not, you will probably have to search a little bit online yourself, or ask other Danes or close family or friends in order to find out more. I just got left to say, because I am also a Danish teacher, happy Danish learning, yeah, because you are learning a language. I know that this is not a happy video, but I still wish you all the best of luck with your Danish learning. Thank you for watching.